One of the reasons I talk so much about awareness is because it's the gateway to emotional intelligence. It's the ability to recognize, what state am I in right now? Am I reacting from fear, or am I responding with clarity? Those two things look very different in practice. And this awareness becomes even more important when we're navigating uncertainty. Awareness changes the state you're in. There's something important about fear that most people never get taught. Fear doesn't just influence how we feel, it changes how the brain functions. When stress rises, the brain shifts into survival mode. That's not weakness, that's biology. The thinking part of the brain, the part responsible for reasoning, perspective, and long term decision making, temporarily goes offline. The nervous system redirects resources toward immediate protection. That's useful if you're facing physical danger. But in leadership, in creative work, in relationships, and in everyday life, that same response can make situations feel far more threatening than they actually are. Suddenly, everything feels urgent, everything feels personal, everything feels permanent. But most of the time, we're experiencing isn't danger, it's a state, and states change. These ideas are something I've been developing for a long time, both in my psychology work and in broadcasting, and they became the foundation of my new book, Flipping the Format on the Fear of Failure. Own your WKRP and flip the format on fear. The problem is that when people are inside that state, it often feels like identity. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not capable. I'm not ready. I can't handle this. But what's actually happening is the nervous system has shifted into protection mode. The first step in working with fear isn't forcing yourself to be confident. It's noticing the state you're in. Awareness changes the state you're in. The moment you pause and recognize what's happening internally, something interesting begins to happen. The thinking brain starts to come back online. Breathing slows, perspective returns, options begin to appear again. This is why awareness sits in the center of the License to Be Badass framework. Not because awareness solves everything instantly, but because awareness creates space between stimulus and response. And inside that space, you regain choice. In leadership conversations, especially in industries that move quickly like radio, the distinction matters more than most people realize. Pressure is constant. Uncertainty is normal. But if every moment of pressure is interpreted as danger, the nervous system stays locked in survival mode. It's exhausting. And it leads people to react rather than respond. One of the reasons I talk so much about awareness is because it's the gateway to emotional intelligence. It's the ability to recognize, what state am I in right now? Am I reacting from fear, or am I responding with clarity? Those two things look very different in practice. And this awareness becomes even more important when we're navigating uncertainty, something I see constantly in leadership conversations and across the broadcasting industry. In the coming weeks, I'll be reconnecting with a lot of broadcasters at the NAB convention. And these conversations will come up again and again. Not because people lack ability, but because stress changes how clearly we can see the situation in front of us. So the first step in overcoming fear isn't pushing it away. It's noticing it, naming the state, allowing the nervous system to settle, and giving yourself enough space to respond intentionally. Awareness doesn't eliminate fear, but it prevents fear from running the show. And once awareness is present, something else becomes possible. Movement. And we'll talk more about that next week.